Welcome back to my art channel. Today I'm going back to the very basics, just sketching. Grab your own sketchbooks and pencils, maybe some coffee if you're just warming up with these, and I'll be sharing the references I use here, so you could even follow along if you want to. It can often feel like we are not improving, right? At least it feels like that to me. I hit a plateau that I can't go beyond. So today I'm sharing some tips that work for me whenever I've hit that plateau. If you enjoy these simple, mostly real-time sketchbook sessions, please leave a like so the algorithm is happy and so I know to film more of my little practice sessions to share with you. I'm sketching in this small art creation sketchbook by Talents that I got as a gift nearly a year ago. I haven't used it much, to be honest, but lately I've been trying to do more casual sketching, random doodles while on the bus or at art markets. So for that, this small size is perfect. I'm using a new tool, this wooden holder that can be used for various charcoal, chalk and pencil refills. I'll go over it more later in the video, but for now I'm using it with a sepia dark lid. To start this sketchbook session, let's warm up with figure studies. I'm going for timed studies on line of action, so give them a look if you want to follow along. And my first piece of advice is perfect for this part. Warm up. Honestly, I'm terrible about this. Especially with limited drawing time, I just want to jump right into my main project or new ideas. Warm-ups really do make a difference. Very loose, quick sketches, like I'm drawing here with a 2-minute timer, can wake up our hands and wrist, bring our fine motor skills online and focus our perception. Whenever I skip them, which is most of the time, I think I'm not missing much, but when I end up doing them, I could kick myself as I really feel that difference. It's kind of ridiculous to see what even just a few minutes can do. Even if you've been drawing for hours and have hit a wall on an illustration or painting, taking a break, then sketching some quick studies to loosen up can give you fresh eyes for what you've been working on. Maybe you haven't hit a skill plateau at all. You just need to give yourself some time to warm up and actually be ready to draw. Long warm-up sessions, though, can be intimidating. If we have limited time to draw, we don't want to spend 30 minutes doing these after all. It might be the total of available time we have that day. For my little sketchbook session today, I warmed up with 4 2-minute sketches. And I really feel like it helped a lot once I tackled the next sketchbook spread. 5 to 10 minutes might be enough and much more achievable. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I'll share some resources for references today. Line of action has been around for a long time, and their practice tools go from figure drawings to faces and expressions to even animals and still life. You can set your own timer, select different model categories, and they even have curated playlists that I'm really excited to give a try next. The second piece of advice: slow down. But Evie, isn't that the opposite of what you just advised for those warm-up sketches? You might ask. Before I get into that, a quick update on the reference. I've switched from line of action to true ref. You can find all the links in the description. Personally, I often feel like I'm going too slow, and so I try to rush things. Lay down quick lines, go for expressive marks, block in colors, and that might be helpful in some situations. But when I feel like my skills have stagnated, that I've hit that plateau and, frustratingly, don't see any improvement, that's when it pays off to slow down. You can see it as I start my sketch here. I'm taking my time, using very light pressure, halting, staring at my reference, giving the drawing time to grow. Especially if we've been learning new art skills and practicing a lot, we can start skipping ahead, rushing the process and not being mindful of what we want to draw. So we think we're stagnating, but really we're just learning to do the same thing but faster, which can be an improvement as well. And once we've hit that new sweet spot of speed and skill, we can slow down again and teach ourselves something new. For this portrait here, you can spot influences from a lot of my recent portrait practice videos. Hints of the Asaro head as I carve out cheekbones and the nose. Stronger shadow shapes, as I often sketch in my movie scene studies. And more decisive lines from figure and portrait warm-ups. It's the slowing down that then lets those practiced foundations settle, and I could focus on new elements. More stylized eyes, an exaggeration to her expression without losing the anatomy underneath, more delicate lines and marks. I hope this makes sense. I'm on purpose showing real-time footage. Nothing here is sped up. I only cut out parts where my camera was shaking, the adjusting of camera angles, me getting up to grab my cup of coffee, or my cat walking over the sketchbook. That way you can see how slow I'm actually going, as I feel like a lot of drawing videos that we all see and even post ourselves can change our perception of how slow this process can be in real life. If you feel like your skills are staying the same, try and see what you're capable of if you give yourself time and space. And then, once you've seen where that takes you, experimented with your style or skills or tools and reached a new level, that's when you can speed up again and solidify what you've learned. By the way, I've switched from the dark sepia from those figure studies to a light sepia for these sketches here, and I love the softer shading I can achieve. This tool looks clunky at first, but I was surprised at the subtle lines and beautiful build-up I could get out of it. So that brings me to tip number 3. Find your tools. This is not a call to run out and buy a whole bunch of art materials, though I do understand that impulse. It's about reflecting on your art style, where you are at, and the skills you want to practice. For me, this wooden holder came out of that. I'd been sketching a lot and my grip was often strained. I wanted to loosen up. But at the same time, I enjoy precision, I enjoy shading and details, so a rougher material like large crayons or charcoal aren't really for me beyond the occasional experiment. For you, when you are feeling stuck, that thought process might look very different. Maybe you keep struggling with over-rendering your pieces, and so trying to loosen up with a medium like oil pastels or a larger brush would be a good fit. Maybe you feel like your color palettes don't pack enough of a punch, but you're painting mostly in gouache, which automatically dry a bit more muted and light, so you could shake things up with a more luminous medium. If you've been struggling with details, you might have to find a paper that really lets you get into those smallest elements. Or if you just feel like you lack fundamentals, getting a cheap sketch pad and filling that with lots of portraits or figure drawings might be the way to go. It's often said that artists don't need fancy, expensive materials to create art, and I of course agree with that. So much can be done with a basic pencil, paper, a ballpoint pen, and quality and price aren't always going hand in hand either. But there comes a point, especially if you feel like you're stuck, when it's helpful to inspect and evaluate your tools. Good watercolor paper really can make a difference. Finding a brush that you're comfortable with and that suits your art style, or maybe more highly pigmented paints, a sketchbook that is small and easy to carry so you can sketch more on the go. All of those don't have to be expensive, but they have to be tailored to you and what you want to achieve. I'd been looking for a handy sketching tool as I kept going through pencils at a record speed for me, and mechanical pencils, while great for detailed, sharp line art, can feel very harsh. So I like the idea of being able to refill with different materials, not needing to sharpen, and giving my fingers a rest from very small mechanical pencils and tiny brushes. And it really turned out to be a perfect fit. I've been using this pencil tool for travel sketching as well and really like the different types of refills that come with my assorted set here. The basic 2B pencil lead that came with the wooden holder will show up in some future sketching videos I've already filmed, as does the absolutely beautiful sanguine color. And as someone who usually doesn't enjoy charcoal as it gets quite messy, the chocolate, too, felt really pleasant to draw with. You can see how I went with even lighter pressure when I sketched this second portrait. I really didn't want to mess it up since I liked how the companion sketch on the left turned out. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but there are directions of faces that are harder or easier to draw. Personally, I find it easier to draw characters that look to the left or forward. But facing to the right, that's strangely a huge challenge. Do you have a preferred side to draw to? I had to sketch in guidelines for the center of her face and really took my time establishing the overall anatomy. Taking my time with this soft layering and building up of lines gave me, I think, a better sense for the abstraction of her expression. I love the simplicity of her eye, with that exaggerated upper eyeline and the upturned gaze. The light sepia really is perfect for this building up of textures and darkness, and I found it to be surprisingly smudge-proof too, though I did use fixative spray on this sketch later. To wrap things up, here's some bonus advice. You might be improving and just don't see it yet. Honestly, this one can be really frustrating. You might have seen diagrams like these floating around. We learn to see better and then learn to draw better based on that new perception of colors or shapes or lights or even art style. And for a while, everything feels amazing and like we're improving by leaps and bounds. But then we start to see better again, and we notice new elements to improve or get a new sensibility to color and value. And suddenly we feel like we've stagnated or maybe even gotten worse. This is when we just have to trust the process. Maybe look back through your older works or sketchbooks. You may notice mistakes, though I hate to call them that, with your new perceptiveness that you couldn't even see in the past. As long as you keep going, this cycle will continue and you'll find yourself evolving in what feels like waves, with highs and lows, but perpetual movement. Case in point, I'll do a little sketchbook flip through for this art creation one. These are sketches from last summer. Of course, other factors played a role too. Was I warmed up? Was I focused? Sitting on a wobbling bus while drawing? Just doodling mindlessly? So I hadn't used this sketchbook in quite a while, but it is actually a really nice sketchbook. It is sturdy, it's the size that I like. This was for the Rapunzel illustration, kind of just a study from a 3D reference that I'd built out. And then I used the TrueRef gesture drawing tool, kind of a slideshow, which is really nice. You can set the time you want, and I did 1 minute and 2 minute warm-up studies here, which are quite terrible. I then moved on, still on TrueRef, setting it to 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And you can see that it goes from, just kind of rough and doodly, to strangely more realistic and then more stylized, because the more time I have, the more of kind of my art style can I put into something naturally. I still quite like how this turned out, even if the eyes are uneven as all hell. And then we have these sketches here that I drew at a cafe. These are Princess Bride screenshot scene studies. These were done before I got that glitter color pencil. Various burnt siennas, my favorite cool gray colored pencil, and then a graphite or warm gray study. I really should write down what I'm drawing, when I'm drawing it, and what I'm drawing it with, because even if you think you remember in the moment, I forget. You might be different, but I certainly forget. And then this is from a drama we watched. I had a super small screenshot only for that one. I just wanted to capture a pose there. A friend of ours raises little geckos, and I saw the newest one, a little baby named Kamgyul. Drew some more sketches at another market, and then that got too busy, so that got abandoned quite quickly. The next full pages are all from today. So these are now from the site Line of Action, which is a pretty well-established figure drawing website. So because these were 2-minute studies, they are super rough. And then after those were done, I went back to TrueRef because in general, Line of Action has an amazing library of poses. I definitely recommend you give them a try. But I do personally really like the individual models they've selected for TrueRef. I find them very expressive and varied and beautiful, each in their own way. And I stumbled over this image that is like a monthly drawing challenge. I was looking for their timed drawing tool again, but I stumbled over this instead. They provide one image per month that you can download or just look at on their website. They just did this really simple 2-page spread. I've been trying to do more of these full spreads. Where did that other one go? Here. Which is really hard to be honest. You get a distorted view of what center of your sketchbook looks like because it never lies completely flat. But I do like the overall effect. It's mostly a social media thing. Maybe I've seen a lot of sketchbooks like this and they just look beautiful. So I'm giving it a try myself. This sketchbook definitely doesn't lie flat perfectly. I really like how these sketches turn out, which is not something I usually feel about specifically sketches, because those are usually more of a tool to figure out a drawing, but these were just studies done as they are. And I think what I like about them, and it's kind of hard to put into words, but it's the balance of realism, or looking at the reference image, and abstraction, the more exaggerated expressions, and letting go of the reference image to actually draw a character. I did switch from the dark sepia to the lighter sepia, which I really enjoy for the more subtle shading that you can get out of it while still going very dark for the hair there. Yeah, just really happy about these. TrueRef is one of the newer reference photo creators. I discovered them a few months back and they offer a lot of free sample packs as well. If you kind of sign up for their newsletter, I think they have amazing resources, a lot of variety, very creative concepts, not just always the same poses, fun costuming, and yeah, this was just one sample image that I immediately liked. I feel like these two play really well together. I do think there's a slow evolution happening for each and every one of us. As long as we keep drawing and painting, we just might be the last one to notice it for ourselves. I hope you enjoyed this kind of low-key, simple sketching video. I just wanted to sit down and practice a little bit, and I hope you drew along with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next art video.